All right, welcome to the You Matter Show podcast. I'm Mark Berdinsky, host of the You Matter Show podcast. I am a speaker, writer, blogger, mastermind power coach, and the mission of this podcast is to help people believe that they matter, because the deepest principle of human nature is the craving to be appreciated. It's not just a wish or desire, it's literally a craving. It's more important to us than sex or money. So You Matter is my mission. And my mission is to positively impact the lives of 1 billion people. The You Matter movement is part of that. And today I'm thrilled to welcome our guest, Cheryl Montgomery. So Cheryl comes to us from Tacoma, Washington. She's a business advisor who helps businesses to grow, right? To become more relevant. And so helping them achieve their business goals. But Cheryl also has a great story. And because stories matter and stories are the thread that tie us all together, we're going to have Cheryl share her stories in just a couple of minutes. But first, Cheryl, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about you. And again, thrilled to have you. I got to know you through a service called Alignable, which I highly recommend to people. It's a great networking vehicle. I'm meeting a lot of people this way and great people like Cheryl. So welcome, Cheryl, to the You Matter Show podcast.
Thank you so much, Mark, and good morning there. First of all, I'm just honored that you would have me. But a little about me. First of all, there's my work life, then there's my life. My work life, I work for a company called Thrive. And as you mentioned, I help small, medium-sized businesses thrive. So that's what I do by day. But who I am every minute of my life is a wife of 40 years, a mom of 2 adult sons, 3 beautiful granddaughters, and a beautiful daughter-in-law. And so, yeah, life is full. And for the most part, because who am I trying to fool? For the most part, life is good.
I love the term you just used. I just caught when you said that. Daughter in love.
Yes, there are
Not
no
bad.
in-laws. In-laws.
That's awesome. I'm going to keep that one and use it. So
You said
daughter in love. If we had to stop the show right now, that's good enough. So a great concept
love
to
it.
share with everybody, right? So again, tell us a little bit more about the business, and then we'll get into your life and how you grew up, et cetera. So again, this is the You Matter Show podcast. We talk about times that I'm sure you do now, or at least for the most part, believe you matter, but I'm sure there were times that you believed you didn't.
Oh,
So tell
absolutely.
us a little bit about your journey here with business and also in your life.
I think what you're doing is awesome, and I think that's what drew me to you, Mark. Letting people know that they matter. I started with this company in 1979, but before that, and it's all tied to the whole story, right? But when I was too young to work here, I applied for a job. I was 16 when I first applied to work here, not knowing that I was too young to work here. So, long story short, I never got a call back. Why? Because I was too young. But what happened is 2 years later, there's this old term called abeyance, the abeyance file. I don't know if you've ever heard it.
No.
But they have put me in abeyance, meaning it's a future dated file. It's a tickler file, what we use as reminders on computers now. Back in the day, it was a physical file, and you would file it for December 2025. Okay. So they knew when I would turn 18 and they sought me out. Apparently, I had the third highest score that day when I took the test. I was the only kid there. Everybody else were adults. You couldn't just work for the phone company. So, with that said, I've been with the company doing various jobs and positions since that time. I'll celebrate 42 years next month. And currently, I help small, medium-sized businesses really with their day-to-day operations. So we provide business automation software. That's who Thrive is. We started as the phone company, part of AT&T. But at the end of the day, our sole focus is what it was over 130 years ago. And that's helping businesses get new customers, manage what they have. And in today's world, we help them get paid, get recognition through reviews, etc. So that's high level how I help my clients.
Awesome. So again, providing good service is the way to go, right? So you're helping businesses to grow, making them stronger, and then you get stronger too. But starting at age 16, or at least looking into this age 16. So wow, that's impressive. I didn't know that part of this story.
Oh,
Hey,
there's so many layers. I could write a book.
I'm sure everyone should write a book. It's a long journey, anything you do. So tell us about your personal journey. I mean, how have you learned to thrive in your life coming from where you started?
Yes. So I don't know if you've ever seen that movie, The Jerk, with Steve Martin, and he says, I was born a poor black child.
Yeah.
Well, I kind of got that same story. But I was born in Berkeley, California, grew up in Oakland, and I really don't know my mother's story because I was only 7 years young when she passed. And that's kind of where my time starts, Mark, right? I don't know I don't know what happened to my memory, but my it was a Friday before Mother's Day, 1968, and I'm waiting, you know how kids, you make something in class, and I'm waiting, and she never came home.
Mm.
She had been murdered the Friday before Mother's Day, and I can still vividly remember police knocking on the door in the middle of the night. I remember I have 2 sisters on my mother's side. And my middle sister was home with me. My older sister, God rest her soul, you know, she had a troubled life. And so she was out in the street somewhere. And at 7 years young, Mark, I can remember, and for the life of me, don't know how I knew this, but I knew how to tell the police where she possibly was. So I helped the police find my other sister so that they could share with her that our mother was gone. And I remember that scenario. So that's where the trajectory of my life started. Um, Not the best of times. What's that book? The best of times, the worst of times. But that's kind of where my memory started. And if I fast forward to today, what helped me know that I matter are people who came across my path. And they weren't necessarily family. They were people in the workplace. And my life kind of blends, right? Because we don't live compartmentalized lives. It all comes together. And I remember one of my positions when I worked in public policy, the gentleman that I supported, I was a support clerk, and he went on vacation. I supported him every day. I'm pretty quick study. So his usual backup was another manager, and that manager wasn't available. I said, Gene, I'll take care of it. And he looks at me like, I knew what he was thinking. You're a clerk. Listen, Mark, he went on vacation. And when that man came back, I had tabs on everything. This is all you have to do because I've taken care of it. And he told me, he said, Cheryl, this is the best anyone has ever covered my job with me being gone. The best. And he's talking about manager. So from that point, I probably would have still been a clerk, Mark. He went to my manager and he said, Cheryl can do more than what she's doing. You just need somebody to believe in you and to communicate that belief in you. And when he did that, it opened my eyes because I didn't even know. I didn't really I didn't really have goals. My main goal was to be employed so I could pay my bills. The end. But that guy, Gene McGrath, made me matter.
So, I mean, you went the extra mile. So you got recognition, you got a gift for putting in, you did more than was expected of you, right?
Yes, yes,
So that gets recognition. And that's why someone feels like, you know what, you made them matter, you made them better. So then they're going to do something for you. And it's the same concept. You don't know when you give, when you're going to receive, and you don't do it because there's an expectation of that. You do it because you want to serve at the highest level. Like
absolutely.
my concept is that, you know, you should do all you can with all you have been given. And so you're doing all
Yes,
you can in the moment with all you have been given, which were the resources and the talents that you had at the time. And then you get recognition. That the next thing you know, you're moving on up because someone recognized that. So I think that's beautiful. And that's the way life should work, right? I mean, we give with no expectation of receiving, but in
mhm,
some time or form or place, higher power, universe, whatever you want to call it, chooses to give back. It's just the way, it's almost scientific, right? You put it out in the universe, and it's going to come back to you.
well,
So,
it's definitely a principle that I live by, and I believe in God. So, yeah, you give, you receive. Absolutely.
so who were your greatest caretakers? I mean, that's just a sad story. Your mom getting murdered, and you're at such a young age. Who who raised you, who took care of you? How did you move through your journey?
So my oldest sister, the one that I helped the police find out in the street, she was 14 years older than I was, and so she became my guardian. Before she became my guardian, my father, who, and I, air quotes, say I met because he and my mother had parted before I knew who they were, right? Kids, I must have been really young because I don't remember him as a youngster. But when he came to my mother's funeral, he came, took me to Texas. My oldest sister went to court and said, she doesn't know him. And it was true. I didn't. And so, the courts determined this is a very traumatic experience. It's best that she be with someone that she's familiar with. And so my oldest sister became my guardian.
And how did that go?
Not well. However, I will say, because I'm older now, I will say I believe she did the best she could with what she knew, but she was not equipped. She was not equipped. Yeah.
That's high expectations. How old was she again?
She was 21, and that's why I say she did the best that she could, right? She had never had her own children. She had her own challenges. And what people tend to do in life is if they're in pain, they bring their pain with them, with everybody they touch. And so she brought that pain. Yeah. I grew up, and again, knowing you matter. So I grew up always trying to keep the peace, because if I kept the peace, I wasn't being physically abused. And so you have all these dynamics, and to know you matter, there's something even through the tough time that's born out of it.
I mean, it's the battles that you face, right, and the scars of coming out of it that makes you stronger. And then you do believe that you matter because you were resilient and you came through it.
Absolutely. Listen, Mark, they say what doesn't kill us makes us stronger.
Right. It's hard to understand that when you're in it, but you got to keep believing that, because everything is temporary in this life. We're all.
Mark, you just said a whole thing. You just, in poetry, when something sounds really good, they do like this. I'm going to do like this, because what you just said was amazing.
Which was what?
Everything in this life is temporary.
Yes. Yeah. We're all here for a short time.
Yeah.
And so we got to make the impact we can on this little blip that we have in time, and the little blip that we are on this blue planet that's, speeding through the universe. We all tend to think we're a lot more than we are. We should be all that we can be, but don't let ego rule your life and think that you're all that in a bag of chips necessarily, because
and dip. Don't forget the dip.
Right. You gotta have dip. If you're doing all you can with all you have been given, and you're giving back, and you're really using your talent and your abilities and shining your light, that's really the best that you can do. And it will impact people, because we're all here for a reason. No one's a mistake. And everything you've been through didn't happen to you. It happened for you.
Oh, there you go again, Mark.
I do it too, right? So you're living, breathing proof of that, because you went through serious trauma. And I'm sure, like you said, your sister was not equipped to raise her baby sister, and you had to deal with what you dealt with. But look where you are now. You're a vibrant, beautiful, cheerful person. And so you get to the other side of that. It's like going through the storm, right?
Yes,
you have to be a buffalo and run into it, not a cow and run away from it. So buffaloes run right into the storm.
Now, Mark, I'm supposed to be looking at you and paying attention, but you got me wanting to take notes. Continue.
I took some notes too while you were talking. So later in life, let's move forward. I mean, so your sister raises you. It's not easy. You come out on the other side. You start working for this company. And how did life change? I mean, how did you, coming out of that, believe that you mattered? I mean, it sounded like things were not easy for you. Not that it's ever easy for anyone. But how did you come out of that knowing, hey, you know what? I matter. I have value. I have self-worth. And I'm going to share that with other people, because you're really good at, in the interactions that we've had, I can feel the warmth and the empathy, because that's all we should be as human beings, are compassionate and sympathetic, right?
Absolutely.
Empathetic, at least. Sympathetic.
Absolutely. Yes.
If really bad things happen, but at least compassionate, empathetic to other people's journeys, because it's not your own. So moving forward from that, how did you resolve and become resilient and say, hey, you know what, I'm going to make a difference here.
Right. So one thing that I've learned is it's a continuous journey. It doesn't like boom, oh, this is it and we're done. No, it's a continuous journey. But to your point, one thing that I am very uh, keen about, Mark, is I often pray, never let me forget where I came from. And so what that does for me, and let me be that person I needed, right? So what that does for me is when I see people who, they're not saying I'm hurting, but if you got it, you can spot it. So, you could see certain things and I reach out to them. I know this one lady that I worked with, and we were in this team training. I had never met her before. She's in the back of the room and she's just like this. And it's like, something ain't right. Is she okay? So I went over to her. Everybody else, it was break time. Everybody else just walked out the room. I go over to her and I say, "Are you okay?" And she looked up and tears are running down her face. Well, I learned that she had just lost her father, but nobody stopped to see if she was okay. And out of that, this is 10 years ago. We are still friends to this day. And it was just because I took a moment to care. Like you said, show empathy and sympathy when needed. So, what was your question? Because it's early in the morning here.
That's okay. Recording this at 7 a.m. there for Cheryl. How did you, come out of what you had experienced to believe that you matter and make a difference?
Yes. And so basically, when that Gene McGrath guy, and I stayed in touch with him years after I got promoted, he lit a fire in me. And what he revealed to me is that, Cheryl, you not only matter, but you're capable. So then I started pursuing other things. And then other people would say, oh, let's promote her to this. I just kept getting promoted. I wasn't even trying, Mark. And so knowing you matter isn't really about the functions we do, but when we know we matter, the way we do them shows up, right? You could be a talented person, and if you don't know you matter, you kind of drag your feet. Your posture is different, but when you know you matter, you come in, your posture's straight, you stand tall. People respond to your posture, your energy. So when you know you matter, then you can help other people know they matter.
Yep.
So the movement you have going, sir, I'm on your train. I want to help people know they matter too. Yes.
And then it really is the concept of self-love. You just gave a great explanation of that, Cheryl. So thank you. But it's the concept of self-love, because how do you expect other people to love you if you don't love you? And there are moments when you're not going to love yourself, and that's okay. Like I said, you helped that woman who was in a down time. It's hard to, loss is hard. Grief is hard. But for the most part, after those things, and you get through that, you got to walk around, like you said, believing that you are worthy, because it's hard for other people to feel that way if you don't. And we can't always build someone up and change them. We can support them, but at the end of the day, we're all responsible for our own lives, happiness, sorrow, etc. Like Oprah Winfrey says, one of my favorite lines: no one is coming to save you, but a lot of people are willing to help you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, get to the point that, self-love is your focus every single day, and self-care, which helps you get
Mhm.
to that point. You can't just get up on the treadmill of life, run in place, and expect that the good things are going to happen. It's like you said, it's being an attraction magnet because of the way you carry yourself. It doesn't mean bad things aren't going to happen to you, or challenges you're not going to face them, because life is hard. And I
Absolutely.
once heard the guy who wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul, and his name escapes me right now, but
Jack Canfield.
yes, Jack Canfield. So he said, here's how life goes: challenge, crisis, challenge, crisis, challenge, crisis, challenge, crisis. And so it's about handling everything that is in front of you by building yourself up to be the very best version of yourself, and believing that you matter. I mean, I don't come to this like my life was sunshine and roses, and I've talked about it on different episodes and in stories I've told that, it's in the book I'm working on. It's not, life is hard and we're all going to go through things, but sharing your scars like you're doing now helps empower other people. And the other thing you said, which I loved, is who was the boss? What's his name?
Gene McGrath.
Gene, right?
Gene. Mm-hmm.
You never know when one thing that's said to you or one thing you read or one experience you have is going to change your entire life. Gene said something that made you believe in yourself and made you feel that you mattered, and that empowered you. That was the word that you said, empowered you to move forward. And like you say,
Yes.
started getting promoting without even trying. That's because you're not trying to be someone that you're not. You're just being you in all your glory. And people go, oh, I like that. And that's how we all have to be, because we're all different. We're all miracle, masterpiece, and a hero. And it's okay to be who you are, because when you are your true self, it's going to shine a light that people go, oh, I'm attracted to that. And that's why you share your stories, because
absolutely. And Mark, if I could say this, and to whomever is watching this, I am not advocating that people not get their college degree. That's not what I'm about to say. But what I will say is that, you know, like I said, I grew up without a dad, so I call God Daddy God. He has looked out for me my whole life. A lot of the positions, including the one I have today, Mark, required a 4-year degree. I have had several jobs that required a 4-year degree. Does Cheryl have a 4-year degree? I'm talking in third person. No, I couldn't afford it. Couldn't afford it. But don't you know, I consider myself a life learner. I sit at the feet of people like Mark Bradinsky and write stuff down as he's talking. But they would tell me, to what you just said, they would tell me, Cheryl, we normally require a 4-year degree, but there's something about you. We like you. And they would forego their requirement of the 4-year degree and hire me, Mark. How I showed up, right?
How you showed up, right? What you gave, your talents and abilities. I mean, I'm not going to have a college discussion right now because, I have 2 daughters. One went through college and one's right there now. But I'm reading a book right now called Wealth Habits, Candy Valentino, and she kind of talks about how the fact that that's not as necessary as it used to be, or maybe was even ever necessary in the way the system's built. But that's not a debate we're going to have here. This is the You Matter Show podcast. But it is about showing up. I mean, I work for a health insurance company where you don't have to have a college degree for that, but you can be extremely successful without that 4-year college degree. But it doesn't mean that it can't help in certain vocations. And it does, especially, I don't want to get into a too deep discussion, but the experience of being on your own sometimes is worth the price of admission to the college, and to learn amongst other people and to get learning, but also the experience of being and adulting, starting to adult.
Mm-hmm.
You can put a price on that. But moving forward, so what's on the horizon for Cheryl? How do you give back now? What things are you doing? How do you want to make a difference in the world?
That's a 2-pronged question. How do I give back now? I give back in several ways, and it's not all business related, right? I love people. I didn't have the terminology that you have as far as making sure everybody mattered, but I think behind what I'm doing, that would be an end result, right? But to just connect with people, to help people say, here's my hurdle. How do I overcome this hurdle to get where I want to go? I like being a part of people's journey to help them get where they want to go because somebody was there for me. And so that's a big part of what I do, whether it's at church or whether it's in the workplace or even with the family. My neighbors, I went over across the street, this little kid, he has an autistic little brother, and he chose to take the bus with his autistic brother to help him assimilate through that process. And I went over and I gave him a little something because I thought it was so sweet. So to encourage people, catch people doing good, encourage them when they're doing good, because through that, I believe they'll know they matter. And as far as me for the future, part of me takes one day at a time, but yeah, you got to have a plan also. I shared, Mark, I've been with the company going on 42 years. I figured 3, maybe 5, I don't know, 3 to 5 more years. I'm retired and I'm doing something else, but doing something else, not just sitting. So, yeah.
Right. You're not going to get tired and retired. you're going to actually stay active, right? This is,
Absolutely.
they say
Absolutely.
retire, I'm going to tire and get retired. That's awesome, though. Look, it's obvious you're a people person and that you love people. It's written all over your face and your heart. I can tell. That's why we've had several good conversations prior to doing this podcast, because I love connecting with people who want to make a difference and are already making a difference, right? Just by being who they are. It sounds you're a very genuine person, which is important because we all need people to be exactly who they're supposed to be. And when you try to be something you're not, that's when things get muddied. And then you don't accomplish what you want, or you don't feel the love that you want because you need to shine your light exactly who you are. Everyone's heart is beautiful. And so no baby's born bad. And we face challenges in life because life is not easy, but
Right.
you keep getting up off the mat. Like Les Brown says, if you fall on your back, because if you can look up, you can get up.
Get up. Yes.
And your matter's no different than other things. I mean, I actually was at an event last night. A good friend of mine, Rob Commodore, he's got a podcast called Chisel, because we're all a work in progress. But his main message was, hey, what's your greatest fear in life? The fear of not being loved. That's the same concept as you matter, just said in different words.
Yes.
Because the deepest principle of human nature is the craving to be appreciated. And if you want to change that word to love, that's fine.
Yeah.
But that's what we all want. Nobody wants to walk around lonely. I mean, solitude is a gift, taking time for yourself. But at the end of the day, you want to share your life with other people. You need to be around other people. We're all social animals. We're part of a social tribe. That's how we're born.
That's right.
Billions of years. So,
well, I think I shared this with you, but if not, I'll share it again. You know, my father-in-law came up with lawn, the lawn. Everybody wants to be loved, admired, appreciated, wanted, and needed.
Yes, that's right. You gave me that. Yes. Say that one more time for everybody listening. Lawn.
Loved, admired, appreciated, wanted, and needed.
There you go. Great acronym. Everybody should understand the lawn concept. So thank you for sharing. I do this, I think, every time I show this note on my desk, because this is really the concept here. Your struggle will be your gift that the world will fall in love with. So you sharing your struggles, you sharing your scars, and how you overcame them is what helps other people going through the same thing, or just knowing your story, believe that they matter too.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mark. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's been a joy. Thank you, Cheryl. We're going to wrap this up. This is the You Matter Show podcast. My guest, Cheryl Montgomery. What a joy it was to have you on here. You're a beautiful person sharing your story, and hopefully other people get a lot out of that. And if someone wanted to get in touch with you, how would they reach you?
They could reach me by phone. I guess it's the simplest way, right?
I don't want you to give your phone number out.
Okay.
Is there an email address?
Yes. Cheryl, thank you. Cheryl, CHERYL .Montgomery, MONTGOMERY at Thrive, THRY, as in Victor.com.
Cool. Awesome. Well, if anybody wants to reach out to Cheryl, she shared her story and wants to have a conversation, I'm sure she'd be more than willing to do that, because Cheryl's a people person. And Cheryl knows the most important thing is that you matter, right? Awesome. Thank you, Cheryl. It's been a joy, and we will be talking soon. Have a great day, and thank you for being here.
Thank you.
See ya.